hear the roar of the battle. We are alive today in Christ Jesus. Sing it. We are alive. Oh, rise me up, the Son of God is here. We come alive in your love. We are alive. Let's hear the roar of battle.
to be in the house of God today? Yeah, we got John Maxwell in the house. You picked an incredible weekend to come worship with us. My name is Noah Marshall, and I serve on our FB student staff team here at Faith Promise. And here at Faith Promise, we exist to help real people with real problems find the real love of God. And what that means is things look a little different around here. People might wear different clothes than maybe churches you've known it in the past. People might worship differently than churches you've known it in the past. But the reason for all of that, the reason that things are different, because we're here for real people to help them to just find the real love of God, man. Because we believe with everything we've got that you don't have to be clean to come to Jesus. You have to come to Jesus to become clean. Amen. Now, if you are visiting with us, if you're a guest, if it's your first time here, we're so honored that you joined us. For whatever reason it was that you chose to come, whether it's an invite, somebody bugging you for a long time to come, whether it's just to come see John, we're so honored that you would join us. We've got a gift just for you. We're just grateful that you joined us. So you can grab that after the worship experience through the center double doors in the back of the worship center. Now, Faith Promise, can we go ahead and welcome our first time guests? Let's give it up for them. Come on. Now, as you know, here at Faith Promise, we believe that everybody's got a next step. Everybody from me to you to pastor and everybody in between, we've all got a next step. And so we created an experience called Next Steps to help us do that. It's a 4-week process that happens during the 11:30 service. This week is week 4. We're going through the generosity journey and how we can become generous people. You can begin that at any time. This week is week 4, and next week we start back fresh with week 1. So you don't want to miss that. And then also one of our values here is that we tell them of Him. Meaning we tell others about Jesus. It's what we do. It's who we are. So as a church, as a staff, we do our best job to try to give you guys tools that you can put in your tool belt and use in that journey. So we've got a video of one of the tools coming up. I want you to go ahead and check out Back to the Movies.
I brought you a special present.
What is it? A book?
This is a special book. It was the book my father used to read to me when I was sick, and I used to read it to your father. And today, I'm going to read it to you.
I'll try and stay awake.
How far are you going?
About 30 years.
I was not a sportsman.
What are you going to do?
Don't know. Think of something.
Look, I'm retired. I might kill whoever you want to make the miracle.
He's already dead.
He is, eh? I'll take a look. Bring him in.
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
That's bad.
Grandpa, what did you read me this thing for?
Well, who says life is fair?
All right, is that going to be incredible? Guys, get ready for that. It's going to be off the chart. Start Labor Day weekend, we will have an alignment with our small groups. We're launching 100 new adult groups, 120, getting ready for all the new people that will come back to the movies. Already shooting them. It's going to be incredible. Well, if you're a guest, you picked an incredible weekend and come be a part of what God is doing. Just one of the dearest people in the world to me, John Maxwell, and I'm sure you've heard of him. Best-selling author, leadership guru, the #1 leadership guy on the planet, literally, if you just do a Google leadership. But with all that, that's not why I love John. Because when I was a young pastor, clueless, not having a dad growing up, not knowing which way to go, he took me under his wing and he began to teach me leadership and mentor me. And so the world knows John Maxwell as this incredible author and communicator. But really, when you get to know the heart of John Maxwell, it is about helping people meet God and experience their full potential. That's what it's all about. I've traveled around the world with him, been with him. I get to serve on his board of directors for the Equip ministry that he leads, and it's just been incredible. I would not be where I am today in leadership and ministry were it not been for the tutelage and the ministry that John has done to me, and all the books and the time I get to spend with him. And so let's give Dr. John C. Maxwell a great East Tennessee Faith Promise welcome. Come on.
Sure love you. Wow, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Good evening. It's so nice to be with you at Faith Promise again. I was here a couple of years ago. How many of you were here then when I was here the last time? Ah, brave souls, you decided to hear me one more time, huh? That's pretty good. I remember when I preached my first message when I was in college, and, well, let me tell you the story. I was in college, and I was a junior, and I had a good friend. Guys, I'm getting a little bit of feedback on the mic. I had a good friend that was a senior who was going to preach his first message, so I went with him. His name was Don, and I went with him to encourage him, and I should have never gone with him because it was his first message, and when it was the worst thing you've ever heard. I mean, in fact, it only lasted 3 minutes. He got up, and he got nervous, and he forgot where he was, and he'd say a few words, and he'd say, Lord, help me. And he'd say a few more words, and he'd say, Lord, help me. And, and I'm on the front row, and I'm saying, Lord, help him. Lord, help him. Everybody else is saying, Lord, help him. And then after about, 2 minutes, the Lord wasn't helping him. It wasn't getting any better, and so I just said, Lord, help us. Help us. We're now having to listen to him. Strike us with deafness or something, So it lasted 3 minutes, and, so I'm an encourager, and on the way back to the campus, I tried to encourage him, but I mean, there was nothing to encourage him about. It just was terrible. Well, I was going to the next Sunday preach my first message. I should have never gone and heard him do his, because now I'm in a panic mode because all I can think of is I've got to last longer than 3 minutes and not say, Lord, help me in between. And so I worked on my outline, and my whole goal, my goal wasn't to help anybody, add value to anybody, change any lives, have anybody find God. That wasn't the goal. My goal was to last longer than 3 minutes and not say, Lord, help me. That was the two goals I had, and so I prepared my message. And to make sure that I go over 3 minutes, I will give you the outline of my message because I could still remember it very well. The outline was, I talked about sin, and I talked about salvation, and then I talked about how the Holy Spirit works, and then I talked about prayer, and then I talked about Bible reading, and then I talked about sharing your faith. Are you getting the picture? The world and all that is within it. And again, my goal was to last longer, and so Margaret was my wife now. In fact, we just this summer celebrated 50 years of 50 years, yeah. So it's her fault she wouldn't leave me, okay? But she went with me. We were engaged at the time to hear me preach that message, and of course she knew my goal was to preach longer than 3 minutes. So I preached that outline, never said, Lord, help me. I knew it went longer than 3 minutes. I felt pretty good, and we're going back home. And I finally just, I said, well, how'd I do? How did I do? She said, well, her comments were, well, you went longer than 3 minutes. Now, when that's the comment, it really wasn't very good. You do understand that, but she knew that was I said, well, how long did I preach? She said, 55 minutes. My first message. And then they asked me to come back and preach that little church again the next year, and I went back, and I apologized to all the people who heard me laugh. I said, I'm so sorry. In fact, I can't even imagine why you came back. You must have a very short memory in that whole process. But I am so glad to be here with you. And Chris, thank you for letting me come back. First of all, I want to thank you. You are huge supporters to Equip, our organization that trains leaders around the world, 6 million leaders around the world, 22 countries now, invited by the president of the countries to come in and do transformation values and teaching. We are in the schools teaching values in the schools, in the curriculum, not before school, not after school, right in there with math and language, teaching values, and we're very excited. And this year we are going to be able to we will be teaching 5 million students this year. And we're on our path to 50 million students within 5 years. And it's all because of you and your support and your help. So I just want you to know I'm very grateful and I'm very excited to be here with you today. And I have a wonderful message, and it's not going to be 55 minutes. And well, I may have to ask the Lord to help me a couple of times. But I'm just so excited to be with you. And by the way, I'm always so very humbled when I'm around Chris because he talks about the influence I've had on his life. And I am a father I'm a father for some, a grandfather now to many leaders and many pastors, but none has ever given me a greater return for my investment than Chris. And I think you understand this. You are incredibly blessed at Faith Promise. Incredibly blessed. Chris is a beautiful friend. He's a terrific leader. And I'm here because I'm grateful to you and how you help support us at Equip. And okay, so let me talk to you. This is a message I'm really looking forward to teaching this tonight because I'm going to talk to you about possessions. I'm going to talk to you about perspective. There are 4 different perspectives people have about their possessions. And I'm very excited about this. So are you ready to take notes? Are you ready to look at your neighbor and say, you're going to learn something tonight. Go ahead and tell them that. Tell them you're going to learn something tonight. Yeah, that's good. That's good. In fact, look back at him and say, why do you think I brought you here? Yeah, okay, we're going to learn something tonight. We sure are, okay? Let me talk to you about perspectives for a moment, and then we're going to talk about possessions. If you and I, just you and I, if we could sit at this table, one chair over there, and you would look at me and you'd say, John, you can only talk to me about one thing. What do you think is the most important thing that you would like to talk to me about? Obviously, I'd want to share my faith, but I'm talking about beyond sharing faith. If I could talk to you about one thing, I would talk to you about how you think, how I think. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, so is she. And the greatest gap between successful and unsuccessful people is how they think. When you talk about the great gap in society, and I'm not talking about IQ, I'm not talking about intelligence at all, I'm talking about successful people think differently than unsuccessful people. And the reason that they think differently than unsuccessful people is because their perspective is different. They see differently than unsuccessful people. And I'm going to share with you in a moment, I'm going to share with you 4 different perspectives about the stuff that you have in your life, the stuff that I have in my life, our possessions. And I'm going to promise you that the 3 of them that I give you tonight, you're going to pretty well say, yeah, I've heard that, or I can see that. The high probability, the 4th one I give you tonight, is going to be a whole brand new thought for you. But it's life-changing. It has the possibility of tonight pivoting you in such a way that you could, after tonight, never be the same again, okay? This has got a lot of potential to bring some incredible positive change within your life. But if you and I were sitting at this table, I would talk to you about perspective, how you see things. Because you see, we see things not as they are. We see things as we are. And in fact, let me just give you some perspective principles really, really quick. The first one, how we view things determines how we do things. See, your perspective and my perspective, the things that we see determines what we do. And two people can be in the same room and have two total different outcomes as far as what they think and what they see. So how we view things determines how we do things. The second perspective principle is that what you see is who you will be. That what I see today of anything, of myself, is going to determine greatly the kind of person that I'm going to become. In fact, when I was talking a moment ago about teaching the values to kids, we have a whole teaching on perspective and self-worth and how you see yourself and how it determines how you're going to end up in life. The third perspective that I'm just touching these quickly because it's just perspective principles really, that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. When I began to change my perspective on how I see someone or see something, all of a sudden, that person, that thing that I'm endeavoring to perceive begins to change before my eyes. Number 4, and this one really runs together, these three. What I believe about life determines how I perceive life, which determines what I receive from life. It starts with what I believe, that determines what I believe, what I think about, what I believe determines what I see, and what I see, again, determines what I will become. Okay, maybe the best way for me to do perspective and to show you different perspectives is to give this to you. I love this. I'm going to read now from A Dog's Diary, okay? And so you dog lovers are going to love this, okay? This is taken from A Dog's Diary, and then to get a different perspective, I'll read from a cat's diary, okay? I see the train a-coming. You see, in A Dog's Diary, it looks something like this. 8 a.m. dog food, my favorite thing. 9:30 a.m., a car ride, my favorite thing. 9:40, a walk in the park, oh, my favorite thing. 10:30, got rubbed and petted, my favorite thing. Noon, lunch, my favorite thing. 1 p.m., played in the yard, my favorite thing. 3 p.m., wagging my tail, my favorite thing. 5 p.m., milk bones, my favorite thing. 7 p.m., got to play ball, my favorite thing. 8 p.m., wow, watch TV with the people, my favorite thing. 11 p.m., sleepy on the bed, my favorite thing. Excerpts from a cat's diary. Day 983 of my captivity. My captors continue to taunt me with bizarre little dangling objects. The only thing that keeps me going is my dream of escape. Perspective. Just perspective. Cat and a dog. Total different perspective. So, let's get now into how we look and see and view the possessions that we have. So we're going to the Good Samaritan story. You know this story very well. And the story really is told by Jesus, but it begins with a question of a man who came up to him and asked him the question, who is my neighbor? Who is my neighbor? So here we go. It's on the screen. In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day, he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense that you may have. And then Jesus asked the question, which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? And the expert in law replied, the one who had mercy on him. And Jesus told him, go and do likewise. Okay. In this story are 3 of the 4 perspectives about possessions. And so let me give them to you. Very simple. This is very simple. The first perspective we're going to look at is the perspective of the robber, okay? I mean, who literally robbed and beat up the man. His perspective is, what is yours is mine, and I'm going to take it. That's the perspective of the robber. He saw the man coming down the road. He decided he wanted his possessions, so he stopped him. He beat him up. He took his possessions. Basically, he said, what is yours is mine, and I'm going to take it. That's the perspective of a robber. Now, the moment that I start here, we all feel really good because we look around and say, well, wow, thank God I passed one of the 4. You know, because I'm not beating anybody up. I don't think that what's yours is mine. This is so far from me. And but I always like to start my lessons, my teaching, where everybody can pass. Are you with me? You know, it's kind of like, oh, wow, this is a good message. Yes, I'm better than that. Wow, this is really good. But before we really wear ourselves out, patting ourselves on the back, I would tell you that we're not too far from him. In fact, we are pretty much born a robber. Yeah, we are. You take a little child, a little toddler. That little toddler pretty much has the disposition and the perspective of the robber. Oh, yeah. In fact, let me give you property law from a toddler's perspective. If I like it, it's mine. If I take it away from you, it's mine. If I had it a while ago, it's mine. If I say it's mine, it's mine. If it looks like mine, it's mine. If you're having fun with it, it's mine. If you lay down your toy, it's mine. If it's broken, it's yours. You see, to be honest with you, we're kind of born robbers. We're born in sin, and we're born incredibly selfish. I love it when people say, well, selfishness is, that's a lot of people have a selfish problem, but that's really not, thank God that's never been my problem. I'm not selfish. You're not? Let me ask you a question. You're with your friends and you take a group picture. When you look at that picture of your group, who's the first person you look for in that picture? And if you look good, great picture. Oh, yeah, send that to, I got to have that. Send that one to me, yeah. And if you don't look good, let's do it again. Come on, another picture. Let's regroup. Let's do another picture. You judge the whole group picture based on how you look. I love it. The other day I had somebody tell me that they weren't selfish as they were taking a selfie. I would just remind myself and you we're really not that far from the robber. Really not. We're living in a culture today that is becoming incredibly entitled. I can see the culture that we live in very quickly moving to this perspective. What's yours is mine. I'm going to take it. But for most of us, we're better than that, okay? So let's get off the robber, okay? Now, because you're better than that. Now, the person on your left maybe still is there. What do you think, huh? Yeah. Don't raise your hand. We don't need any witness right now. But let's go to the second perspective, because I promise you, if we escape the robber perspective, this one might catch some of us. And the second one is the perspective of the priest and the Levite. Okay? And their perspective is quite simple also. And that very simple. Here's what they believe, and this is what they see, and this is what they behaved like when they saw the man who had been robbed. Their perspective was, what is mine, and I'm going to keep it. What's mine is mine, and I'm going to keep it. Isn't it interesting that when Jesus told this story, he made sure in telling the story that we understood that the priest and the Levite saw the man. He wanted to make us sure, because he didn't want us to hear the story and some of us said, well, it could be possible that, he was going down the road and the guy was on the right side and he was on the left side and you know what I mean? He was kind of looking off to the left, and it's possible he could have gone by the man in there. No, Jesus wants to make sure that everybody understands that both of the priest and Levite saw the man. In fact, they not only saw the man, they were walking on the man's side. He wants us to make sure that they're walking right down towards where the man's beaten up. And when they saw the man, what does it say they do? They walked to the other side. So they not only saw the man, they avoided the man. They realized he was in trouble. But pretty much, they had a perspective about who they were and their possessions that was very selfish. Pretty much their whole thing was, look, I'm so sorry about the guy. It looks like he's got a problem, and it's too bad. But what is mine, and I'm going to keep it. I have a friend who shared this story with me, and it's so good, and it applies here so well. He was telling me about taking his son to McDonald's. His son loved McDonald's fries, and so so Dad said, well, here, let's go to McDonald's and let me get you some fries. And all of us, most of us have experienced McDonald's fries, and I would have to be one to tell you, I think that they're quite wonderful, personally. I do. I expect those kind of fries to be in heaven, to be honest with you. I've had it. How many of you maybe have once or twice had McDonald's fries? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. You know what I'm talking about. So the little guy says, boy, Dad, so Dad takes him over, and so he gets the McDonald's fries, and they sit down, and so they're sitting down, the little guy's starting to eat his fries, and Dad's watching him, and he starts smelling those fries. And you know what happens when you smell those fries? There's something within you that says, partake. And so, the dad, he's talking to his boy. They're having a nice time. His kid's eating the fries. So Dad reached over to get a couple fries, and, to put in his own mouth. And when he got his hands on his fries, his boy saw it, and he grabs his dad's hands and pushes it away and said, Dad, you can't have any of these fries. These fries are mine. These are my fries. You can't have any of these fries. Dad pulled his hand back, and he said, in a moment, I began to have just all kind of inward responses and feelings as a father. He said, John, he said, he said, when he pushed my hand back, he said, no, these are my fries. He said, the first thing I thought of as his father was, he doesn't understand where these fries came from. I'm the source. I went up to the counter. I ordered the fries. I reached in. I paid for the fries. He doesn't understand. The only reason he has fries is because of me. And he's telling me, no, Dad, these are my fries. He said, the second thing I thought was this. He doesn't understand. I can take those fries from him. That's what all you were feeling, weren't you? The old dad response was, hey, buddy, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I said, I can write them and say, hey, son, if you're going to have that kind of attitude, you're going to have that kind of selfish perspective, and that's all that you can see, I'm just going to take those fries. You need to be taught. I'm going to take those fries from. Or he said, he doesn't understand. He said, he doesn't understand I can take those. Or if I want to, I can bury him in fries. He said, I can walk right back up the counter and say, I'd like to have 100 packs of fries. And I can just take those trays back there, and I can just say, son, stand still. And I can bury him in fries. Now, when he told me that part, I thought, what a way to go. Come on. Wouldn't that be a wonderful way to go? How did he die? Buried in McDonald's fries. In fact, if you try to save me, I'd probably slap you. He said he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand I'm the source. He doesn't understand that I'm in control. I can take him away from him. I can bury him in those fries. And he said the third thing he doesn't understand is he doesn't understand I don't need his fries. I don't need his fries. I can go right back to the same counter. I know exactly how. I can reach in my pocket. I don't need those fries at all. I can reach in that pocket and I can have my own fries. See, he said he doesn't understand. When I reached over to have a couple fries, it's not like I can't have my own. He said, he said, the thing that bothered me as a father was all I really wanted from my son is for him to recognize me as the source and share with me what I had given him. That's all I wanted. And when he told me the McDonald's fry story, I thought of this story here. Because you see, there are two words that they're just not compatible at all. And one is selfishness and the other is significance. You know, selfishness is all about me and significance is all about others. And the priest and the Levite, what's mine is mine. That kind of perspective is a selfish. There's nothing that's going to bring about significance with that kind of perspective. And what's sad is when people have that perspective, what's mine is mine. I'm going to keep it. What's sad is that they always lose. They always lose. What you know? Jesus said. He said, "What you keep, you lose." What you lose, you keep. And people that have a scarcity, kind of like it's what's mine is mine. Boy, I gotta keep this. But what they don't understand is they cheat themselves. You know, Proverbs 11:24 says, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." Every time I see Chris, my heart is warm because all I've ever wanted to do is add value to leaders who will multiply value to others. And so every time I gave myself to Chris or taught him a principle or we traveled together or I put some more mentoring into him, you see, now what am I doing today? Right now I'm looking at the return of my mentoring. I'm looking at the return of my time. I'm looking at the return of my sharing and my giving. And I'm looking at you. I'm looking at significance right now. I'm looking at significance. And a person with a scarcity mindset that's selfish, they're never going to get that. They're going to miss the best that life has to give them because they truly believe that what's mine is mine and I'm going to keep it. So let's look at the third perspective, okay? This is the perspective of the Good Samaritan. And you know that the story was given to this Jewish attorney because they looked down on the Samaritan. So when he asked the question, who is my neighbor, Jesus decided to kind of stick it to him. You with me? He did that in the name of Jesus, but he stuck it to him. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He makes the good guy the guy that the Jewish people don't like, the Samaritan. And he's called a good Samaritan. He's a good Samaritan because his perspective was, and here it is, number 3, what is mine is yours. And I'm going to give it. What is mine is yours, and I'm going to share it. I'm going to give it. Now, when you look at the priest and the Levite and the Samaritan, look at, they all saw the problem. They all had an opportunity to help. And by the way, they all had a reason not to help. They all had an opportunity to help, but they all had a reason not to help. I mean, they're going down the road. On the road, that Jericho road where they're walking right there, it's between Jerusalem and Jericho. There's not much happening. It's kind of a desolate road. That's why the guy was robbed, because nobody was around. So nobody is going down that road to stop there. They're going that road to go somewhere. And so all of them could have said, I've got people, they're waiting on me. I got meetings planned today. And so there's all kind of reasons not to stop. But you see, the perspective of the priest and Levite was a selfish perspective. And they basically said, if I stop to help him, I'm going to miss my appointment. What's going to happen to me? I'm going to inconvenience myself. And by the way, people that are selfish never want to inconvenience themselves. That's the core of selfishness. It's, I don't really want to inconvenience myself to help you. Now the Samaritan, he had a different perspective. He didn't have a selfish perspective. He had a significance perspective. And basically he said, boy, wow, if I don't stop, what will happen to him? What will happen to him if I don't stop? In fact, if you really want to play this, of course, we know what's going to happen to him. He's already half dead. He's going to die. If I don't stop, what's going to happen to him? He's going to die. But then, I think the Samaritan also, in this perspective that is significant, he's also saying, if I don't stop, what's going to happen to me? This is huge. And let me tell you something. If you don't stop, what happens to you in selfishness is that your heart becomes very hard. And it becomes very indifferent. And you become calloused. You get calluses on your soul. And all of a sudden, you really don't care. You really don't give a damn. It's very easy to see people hurting and pretty much excuse your unwillingness to help them by some other kind of plight that you're saying they perhaps have. So if I don't stop, what will happen to him? Well, he'll probably die. If I don't stop, what will happen to me? Well, I'll probably get a calloused, indifferent heart. But if I do stop, what will happen to me? And if I do stop, what happens to me with this perspective is I will become a person of significance. I will add value to others, which is what life is all about. We are our brother's keeper. And the moment that we include others in our time, in our life, in our giftedness, in our possessions, the moment that we become inclusive with others, our life takes on a significance dimension that is life-changing. The most fulfilled people I know in life are people that are givers. They're generous. They share. They have a desire to make a difference in others' life. They live beyond themselves. Now, when we look at these three perspectives, to be honest with you, for years, I thought this is as good as it gets. Wow, that doesn't get any better than this one. What's mine is yours, and I'm going to share it. I'm going to give it. I've always considered that like the top perspective of the three. But to be honest with you, in the last 10, 12 years, I found biblically another perspective that's even higher. So before I give that to you, would you like to go a little higher? Is that okay? I mean, would you like to say, hey, I think I want to step up to a whole new level? I know you want to do that. But how many of you desperately want the person you brought? You know what I'm talking about? Oh my God, thank God. This is what they really need. You know what I mean? This is, wow, I want them to go this whole new level. Let me just say one more thing before I give this to you. This will change your life. This will change your life. Remember I said a little bit earlier that this could be very pivotal for some of you. There are some of you, you're listening to this teaching, and it's going to change you. It's going to beautifully change you. In fact, look, before I give you this last perspective, look at your neighbor and say, this could make a positive change in your life. Go ahead and tell them, this could change you. This could change you. Yeah, isn't that good? Huh? And why don't you look at him and say, and God knows you need change. Huh? Yeah? That second question's always more fun than that first one. Always is, okay? So here's the last perspective, and this is life-changing, okay? And I hope I can do a good job. I hope I can do a good job teaching it. Here we go. What's mine is not mine. And I'm going to manage it. What's mine is not mine. And I'm going to manage it. Now, this perspective on possessions is I don't own any of my stuff. It's not mine. It's all God's. Psalm 24:1, the earth is the Lord and everything in it. I would say that would be us. The world and all who live in it. James 1:17, every good and perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights. What is mine is not mine. And so therefore, since it's not mine, I don't have any control over it. I just manage it. I just steward it. Wow. Now, just a moment, before we go on. Chris talked about me being his mentor and kind of like a father to him, and it's true, and he wants me to take him out to eat tonight. He just takes this father thing way, and I checked my thing, and I need somebody. If somebody, bring me $100 so I could you do me that for? Huh? Would you? Do you have 100? Thank you. Gosh, it is 100. Thank you very much. What's your name? What is it? Chad. Thank you. Why didn't I ask for 200? Are there any others out there? Are there any? Do I see another hand? Are there any others? Now let's talk for a moment. Because here we are. You're sitting there and you're thinking, John just asked for $100. Some guy gets up and hands me $100 and sits right back down. And you're thinking, what just happened? And you're probably saying, well, why didn't I do that? Well, that's why I'm giving you another opportunity. I'm patient. Now, I want you to understand something, okay? Before the service, I gave Chad this $100. And I told him that there would be a time in the service I'd ask for it back. And so when I asked somebody to bring me $100, Chad had no problem getting up and bringing me the $100 because he knew it wasn't his. Every challenge you have with your money in regards to tithing, supporting the kingdom of God, every challenge you have with your money is because you've got the wrong perspective about it. You think it's yours, and it's not. And when you die, you'll find that out. See, Chad had no problem bringing the $100 because it wasn't his. It was mine. And when we realize that God owns everything in our life, all of a sudden, we don't have a problem at all. Giving and sharing and being a good Samaritan and helping and serving. I mean, after all, if every gift I have is his. It's not my gift. The time I've got, it's all his time. It's not my time. If I think it's my time, then I'll control how long I live. Everything's the Lord's. And until we have this, here, you cannot, to lack this perspective keeps you from living the significant lifestyle that brings fulfillment to you. And the moment that you understand that God will give to you what he knows will flow through you, that you and I are to be a river, not a reservoir. The moment that we begin to understand this, everything begins to incredibly, unbelievably change in our life. Let me illustrate. Suppose you have a very important package that you want to send to somebody that needs it. So what do? You take it down to the overnight delivery service provider. And you hand this package over to them, and you sign, do all the stuff there, okay. And so now you've got this package, and you gave it to the delivery people to deliver the package to somebody that needs it, only to the next day you call your friend, and they say, well, I didn't get a package. You say, what do you mean you didn't get a package? I took it last night for an overnight. I took it last night to the delivery people. Well, I didn't get the package. So you run down, and you go to the delivery place and say, my friend didn't get the package I gave you last night. And the person behind the counter said, well, I thought you wanted me to keep it. I mean, after all, why would you bring it here in the first place if it wasn't for me? And you look at it and say, no, you don't understand. The package doesn't belong to you. Your job is to take it to the person that it belongs to. Hang with me. All I am is God's delivery boy. That's all you are. He gives us these gifts, and he gives us these opportunities, and he gives us these ministries, and he gives us this church, and he gives us all this stuff. He gives us our possessions. He gives us all of our stuff to be a delivery boy, to be a delivery girl for him. He doesn't give us these gifts for us to keep them. He gives us these gifts to share them. He doesn't give us these opportunities for ourselves. He gives us these opportunities for ourselves and others. It's a much bigger picture because it's a much higher perspective. The higher your perspective, the bigger your picture on possessions. So I'm just the delivery boy. Every day of my life, I wake up and I realize that God has given me another gift, time. And during this time of day, he's going to give me opportunities to add value, to make a difference, to share, to give, to be a good Samaritan, to make a difference, to add value, to live a life of significance. Every day he gives that to me. Every day he gives that to you. Every one of you this morning, he gave you the gift of time. And he says, okay, what are you going to do with it? Your perspective determines your behavior. If you're like the robber, you'll spend the day taking from others. If you're like the priest and the Levite, you won't rob anybody, but you'll hold tight to what you have because you've got a scarcity perspective. If you're like the Good Samaritan, you'll see people and you'll add value to them. But if you are a biblical thinking Christian, you'll understand nothing I have in my life is mine. Nothing. It comes to me to go through me to others. Let me ask you a question. Did you learn something tonight? Huh? Did you learn something tonight? Wow. I'm going to turn it back over to Chris.
Was that incredible? Come on, give John a hand one more time. You know, and all of us really want to have that fourth perspective, but truly the only way to have the fourth, which is heaven's perspective, is to have a heart transformation, because we were all born on that first level, either taking or wanting to keep. But to move to a level of a life that only God can give requires an act of God in our heart. So if you're ready not to become religious, but to meet and experience God at another level, the level of what he called salvation, then I'm going to lead us in a simple yet extraordinarily profound prayer. So if you would bow your heads with me, we're going to pray this prayer out loud. You can pray with us. Just pray this prayer with us. Dear Jesus, I know I've sinned. I know I've failed, but you paid for it. You paid my tab. You've given life. I receive it. I will follow you all of my life by faith. Be my Lord and help me live a life with your perspective. Now with heads bowed, eyes closed, if you prayed that simple prayer with me, just slip your hand up. Hey, Pastor, I just want you to know I prayed with you. Gotcha. Amen. All right. Okay. Gotcha. 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 Okay. All right, look up here. We just handed a card for those that we saw. If you raised your hand and you did not get a card of what your next steps are, if you'll take the communication card in front of you and just fill the top part out, check the circle. I made a decision to follow Jesus, and just put in the offering bucket. If you're a guest, love to have you fill out a card. We're not going to come knock on your door, throw tracts in your yard, anything like that. We just want to know that you were with us, and I'll send you a card. But if you'll go through those center doors, there's some tables, some smiling faces. They've got a gift for you, and we're thrilled that you were with us. If you want to find out more about what's going on at Faith Promise, you can go to what we call our Next Steps. Faith Promise Next Steps is it happens at 11:30 every Sunday. And you can take your kids out, grab a cup of coffee, check them back in. During the 11:30 service, it'll be in room 222. Somebody will show you where that is. We just want to help you take your next step in following after God for the life that he has. As we prepare to give, if you'll fill those communication cards out, you can put them in the offering bucket. One of the ministries that we support because you're so faithful is Equip. I was there when the first time he cast vision and committed, and we've been doing that since Faith Promise has been established, and I was doing it even before then. We trained 6 million leaders around the world, and now we're going back, and we have a 1 million soul mandate that John has given the board that I get to serve on, and by 2023, we believe we'll have seen 1 million people give their heart to Jesus. And you guys help fund that because you're generous. So thankful. Again, man, we're glad you're here. I'm going to pray. Our ushers are going to come forward. God, we want to live with perspective forward, that it's yours, that we get to manage it. And God, we want to be so trustworthy that you can flow through us resources in the kingdom to feed the hungry, clothe the cold, to touch those, whether they're down and out or up and out. God, use us, give us your perspective to live a life that is free for your flow to move through. In Jesus' name we pray. And all God's people said, all right, as we give to God, give God a shout of praise because we get to give. Has it been good to be in the house of God this weekend? Man. Hey, if you moved from the 10 o'clock service to the 8:45, thank you so much. 8:45 will be packed today. We're moving into a new series next weekend called Mind Monsters. It's about emotions and how we think. And because we don't see life as it is, we see life as we are. And emotions can be a blessing or a cursing, and man, people are going to be set free. We'll start that next weekend. It's going to be a blast. We love you guys. Have a blessed week. See you next weekend.
We were good till it wasn't, till it all fell apart. Every tear wasn't worth it, so I had to move on. We were done from the get-go, I wouldn't say we were friends,